Hello there, I'm Chris Stashew.
I'm Mike White.
And I'm Father Malone.
And this is the last time we're introducing you to our little collaboration here between our three podcasts, Dreams for Sale. In the last 4 years since we started this show, Father Malone now has his own podcast, and Mike and I have two more. Ladies and gentlemen, you just when one door closes, two or three or four more open, as they would say. On this final episode of Dreams for Sale, we're going to be taking a look at the final 3 episodes of the show. Leading off with Crazy as a Soup Sandwich, then Special Service, and then rounding out with what Mike and I call a Saturday, Father and Son Game.
Father Malone and Son Game?
That's it.
It's true.
Not really.
No.
Don't lump me together with that.
Don't put me in the boat with that one.
No.
As certain as death and taxes, we are told the meek will definitely inherit the earth. Perhaps, but not always. Consider, if you will, Mr. Archie Lochner, a well-known petty crook, sidebar 6-for-5er Shylock, registered coward, and owner of a yellow streak so vivid it could be slathered on a hot dog. Mr. Lochner was written out of the will when the meek were guaranteed their inheritance. And just now, he's trying to avoid another kind of payoff. A soulful payoff in that off-track betting parlor we call the Twilight Zone.
What were you stuttering on purpose? Yeah.
That's the only good part of that episode. Anyway, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first episode, written by Harlan Ellison.
Harlan Ellison, yo.
Crazy as a Soup Sandwich. So it aired April 1st, 1989. It stars Anthony Franciosa as Nino Lancaster and Wayne Robinson as Archie Lochner. And it also features WWF's Shockmaster with the voice of the devil or demon. It is the most obnoxious demon voice I have ever heard. I hope. And it stars a con man who sells his soul to the devil, I guess. I thought that there was going to be like a punchline to this episode at some point. Like this was going to be a comic book.
What? You didn't get the punchline? That the boss has already captured demons?
Come on, baby.
What's funny
including
about that?
the demon's father.
But, so
I
what?
never should have put any faith in you, son.
It's a father and son game already.
This is all of Harlan Ellison's worst instincts as a writer.
Okay, I'm glad to hear you say that because I fucking hated this episode.
I thought this was a joke. I
was like, oh my God, Father Malone, it's a Harlan Ellison episode. He's going to love it. And I can't fucking stand this. Everyone is talking with a cartoon voice the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, see?
So, yeah, okay. That's the thing.
Overwritten.
Okay, so not only
it's astoundingly overwritten.
Not only does Harlan overwrite,
boy, oh boy,
but they did that script no favors by dressing it's a gangster thing. Put him in a big floppy fedora and a fucking pinstripe suit because that's gangsters, right? And the performances don't help anyone at all. I mean, Tony Franciosa is great, but I will say that I'm going out west because Tony Franciosa used to date my mom. It's a Tom Waits reference. Anyway.
Lost on me, man.
Mike White,
I got it. Yeah.
All right.
I don't need special effects. Yeah. I got real scars. Yeah.
So, yes. No, this was, like I said, this is Harlan Ellison working at his sort of worst. And so I was curious if this episode was written for like the original sort of run, maybe season 1 or season 2. And just got left over, and then they sort of brought it back. But as it turns out, no. Harlan Ellison wrote this specifically for the 3rd season after having quit in season 1, basically.
Revenge.
So I found a little quote where he said, Straczynski solicited me to do a teleplay for the syndicated zone, being aired for purposes of what we call stripping. That means another 40 episodes or so need to be filmed to total the 100 required to put it into syndication. For that series of shows, I wrote a story called Crazy as a Soup Sandwich, which is a terrific little segment they filmed up in Canada. It's a lovely little show. So that was informative and incorrect.
Yeah, I was about to say, Harlan, wrong answer, pal.
Yeah.
I messaged you this when I was watching it. This felt like a Tales from the Crypt episode. Actually, there have been Tales from the Crypt episodes whose tone is closer to this than this is to Twilight Zone.
There have been tales from the dark sides about this. There have been monsters about this. Like, everyone has written this story, and this is.
I'm more talking about the way it's shot and the way it's lit is very
my God,
Tales from the Crypt.
The way it's shot, no, it's worse. It's worse than that. Like,
third season of that show is what I'm getting at. Like,
it's the unaired season of Tales from the Dark Side. It's that level of it's if the BBC, if they had produced this episode of Twilight Zone, I wouldn't have been surprised. It is so fucking cheap looking. It's all lighting. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? They thought they were getting away with something with all of the scrims, but no.
Well, the monster for the majority of this, before he turns into a reject from Gargoyles, that's all just lighting and just like a little 3D animation thing with lighting moving across it. Okay.
Scary.
Was that not just like smoke? Was that I thought that was like an underwater effect that they then just.
It could be, yeah.
I think it was. Just a digital effect, because they were.
Really?
That's CBS was doing digital. Like, most of the effects in the show were done digitally. Because the show was at this point shot on tape, right? I mean, it's not film. It's definitely not film this season.
Could we even consider this entertainment?
Yeah.
What's weird is there's this entire there's a demon, and the demon wants the guy's soul, but the boss, who also has the guy's money, the guy owes him.
Or that
money.
guy owes owes the gangster money. He owes the demon his soul, the devil his soul. Right.
And so the gangster goes, "I'm going to deal with the devil or creature, demon, and then I'll deal with you." Cool.
Sure.
Paint my office with lead paint.
Yeah.
All right. Harlan Ellison, folks.
Stop.
What's funny is we started this show with Saturday, and we're ending the show with this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you could watch these two episodes and go, I get it. Almost the best that the show has to offer, and definitely in the running for one of the worst.
Harlan is very famously wrote a short story, and a pretty good one actually, in a bookstore window, in an afternoon. This feels like he wrote an line at a Walmart.
It's not much of anything, and it's cartoonish. Yeah. Which is not a tone that the Twilight Zone ever goes.
No,
for.
That's the thing. So reading Harlan
shouldn't have been phrased as a question. It doesn't go for that. I've seen enough of the show to know it doesn't go that way.
Sci-fi has always had a comedy problem.
Mm-hmm.
There are very few people sort of skilled enough to do it really well, but I think every giant of sci-fi has always attempted to do or try their hand at comedy, and Harlan is no exception. And as I said, the worst of his short fiction leans in the whimsical, slapsticky, aren't I funny? It's we don't read you for your comedy ever.
Right.
So don't do that. But that's in evidence here. There's no defending this episode for me.
Volkerps.
The Volkerps. My God.
Did you like this one, Mike? I'm just kidding.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Shame on all of you.
Should we continue?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's as this train just lurches into the station, let's talk about the penultimate episode of the show. Special service.
Introduction to Mr. John Selling. A reasonably average man who goes through life with both eyes open and both hands firmly on the wheel. Mr. John Selling, practical and steady, who is about to be blindsided by the Twilight Zone.
Directed by Randy Bradshaw, written by the man J. Michael Straczynski.
Oh, thank God! I hope. I was worried he wasn't going to make a fucking appearance.
Oh, David Naughton, our favorite Pepper from the classic Dr. Pepper commercial. He's back. He's playing, you guessed it, Truman from The Truman Show.
Right.
This is The Truman Show before The Truman Show. I'm not a big fan of the Truman Show. This was better than the Truman Show. At least it was shorter.
I disagree. I'm not the biggest fan of the Truman Show either, but like it has some ideas and it's trying to say something. I don't know what the fuck this was.
No.
Like there's a corporate. Okay, so you just said it. Like, but the setup is the fucking mirror falls off the guy's bathroom wall and discovers there's a camera in there. And 2 seconds later, Fink from Meatballs shows up with a British accent. Shows up to fucking fix this thing and go like, and just say to him like, no man, you didn't see nothing. You didn't see nothing at all.
You're
like
telling me that actor wasn't British?
Are you shocked?
You like that? You're welcome.
Oh, I almost fell off a chair.
No, I'm not.
Oh boy.
This is how the corporation deals with like faulty cameras and shit. Like they just walk up and go like, you've seen nothing. This was all a dream.
Is
like,
this the only show that they have going? I mean, I want to know more. And like, why are women crazy for this guy? Oh my goodness. They want to rip his clothes off.
Seems like a real drip.
Yeah.
And I could be because he's a werewolf.
Well, no, that would make him sexy and cool. I've seen this guy be sexy and cool. He's not sexy and cool here.
I've seen him dance. I've seen all kinds of.
I've seen him run naked stealing balloons.
Yes, that is true.
And he did that with Elan.
Yes. Not here.
Not here. Awkward dancing is what we have here.
Yeah, this is pure freak out mode. What is going on?
Emoting with his eyes and eyebrows like, whoa!
Yeah.
It's, like you said, it's the Truman Show before the Truman Show. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're all in a TV show, or this guy's in a TV show. Like, fuck gives a shit. I'm sorry.
And then they take him and explain everything to him.
Right. And then they put him back in his home, and it like...
Right. I mean, I kind of like the idea.
They were just going to tell you that you're not in it anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
I like that. I like the kind of mindfuck sort of quality of it, but like that's not what this episode was about at all.
It's also an unearned payoff anyways. Like, you don't get to be smart in an episode this stupid.
I mean, if it had been about this guy, like he's convinced that everyone's watching him and he's on a television show and no one believes him, and then the payoff is like that, then maybe, sure. But like, it's so random and happenstance. Like, oh yeah, no, you're totally like, everyone loves you. Well, and the whole world isn't like showing up. Like, remember, here's one thing that they did right in Truman Show. They have like a little montage of people who have tried to break in and let him know that he's on a TV show. Like one woman like pops out of a box, like, you're on TV. Like that would be happening. Like there's no non-disclosure agreement for the country.
Well, he's just taken to an office somewhere.
And I don't get that whole setup of their business model. The whole thing like, oh, well, we had all this money and blah, blah. And I'm like, what? Why is this David Naughton's problem?
Yeah.
They made it his problem.
Yeah. This seems like
that network exec. He was in Hollywood Shuffle. He was one of the repertory players in Hollywood Shuffle. I just remember him playing like a Dirty Harry type of character.
I like Hollywood Shuffle a lot.
Yeah, I like it a lot more than this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about Hollywood Shuffle. It's so good, man. Winky Dinky Doll.
I've been trying to get Robert Townsend to talk to me for a long time and just never gets back to me.
Huh.
Yeah. We're even friends on LinkedIn. And you know how friendships are on there. They are for life.
Solid. Rock solid.
I've used LinkedIn several times to get interviews.
Yeah.
It can happen. If you just believe hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask to talk about Meteor Man, he'll probably talk to you.
That's true.
Depends on the project.
Yeah. And let's not kid ourselves. That's the superior project anyways. So everybody loves Meteor Man.
I like it more than this episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like the concept, but the concept is expounded upon in greater detail in something that you would want to watch over this. If you are interested in this idea, there's a better place to watch it that does more with the time that it's given, and it's given 3 times as much time. And I'm not really even a fan of that movie, but I would rather watch the movie than watch this episode.
Did you see Baps? That was another Robert Townsend movie.
Oh,
it's really bad.
Yeah.
You wonder who was running the show over there at Townsend Productions. Makes you wonder. Anyway.
You know what else is really bad? Petey Wheatster on The Devil's Son-in-Law, but that's the highest.
That's a good
video
movie.
on the
That's actually
YouTube channel.
it's actually a good movie. That's a good movie. I've changed my mind about that again. I've had one of my famous changes of heart.
Wow.
I'm back to liking that movie.
It's true. Father Malone's heart did grow 2 sizes that day. Change
For
of heart.
Petey, it did.
Yeah. So shall we take this one home?
Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready? Mike's just like,
Sure.
get me out of here.
Ah.
Alrighty. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the 30th episode of the 3rd season of the show and the final episode of the first revival of the Twilight Zone. Father and Son Game.
Don't be deceived by the youthful appearance of our subject, Darius Stevens. He abused his body for 79 years. Now he's walking on his own bought and paid for 2 feet, down a path he hopes will lead him into a new life.
Father Malone.
Father Malone and Son Game. So
That would be way more interesting.
Yeah, anything would be more interesting. So this episode is directed by Randy Bradshaw, written by Jeremy Bertrand Finch and Paul Chitlick, and stars Ed Marinaro and Eugene Robert Glazer as a father and son. One's a robot, maybe, possibly, who the fuck knows? And the other one's trying to wrest control of his business. It's like, Succession, if it was bad and dumb and nothing like this.
It's very, to me, it's Free Jack if Free Jack was awful.
Really, really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's more like that Selfless, the one with Ryan Reynolds. It's more like along the lines of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, this is a tremendously poor episode. It's poor science. Like, here's the I made the joke earlier about the stuttering, and that's the only good part of the episode. It is the only good part of the episode. I think Ed Marinaro, like I thought he did that really skillfully.
Yeah,
like he was breaking down,
and he was very subtle about it. The first time it happened, I was like, "Oh, was that a mistake? What's going on?" Yeah.
It worked its way up very, very well. So kudos, Ed. Who, by the way, I could only think of Laverne and Shirley the entirety of this episode. Right? I mean, what else do we know him from?
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing about this episode is that they essentially just gave up on set design and just threw sheets on top of tables. They were like, this is good enough at this point. We don't give a shit. We'll just set it in a hospital where they have all this stuff already, and then we'll just put like a sheet on top of a desk, and it'll look weird if we gotta pull it at the corners. It's like set design 101. You got $20. Go down to the local.
They had to
Home Joe's and get whatever.
They had to spend all the money on that very futuristic looking scientific equipment where he's now like Max Headroom, just a head in the box.
Yeah. Good call on that one.
And what's weird is like it's trying to have something to say about like what does it mean to be human? What is your humanity?
And consciousness,
what defines your humanity?
Like, this is all great science fiction.
Oh, yeah.
It's like bedrock science fiction, but written by somebody who I think doesn't like science fiction. You know what I mean? Like it's these people who are television writers, and then they get hired on like this kind of show, and like, oh, well, what do we do? I don't know. Figure something out.
What's the least sci-fi thing that we can do while still getting away with it being somewhat sci-fi? Immortality.
Right, like a brain thing. Yeah. Transference.
Or they have like numbers on
what
their
is
arms.
Consciousness? But they weren't even really interested in any of that. They wanted to tell this story about this like power struggle with this family and money, and like who fucking gives a shit? Like, tell the fucking story of the brain transference that occurred, which is a fucking miracle potentially.
And then at the end, it's like, okay, so his body didn't even matter anyways.
Right.
No, and what the big triumph is not necessarily that his consciousness is still around. It's that he's going to be able to retry that case.
Right. We got good odds here.
It's like remember they talked to Crispin Glover about Back to the Future and like why he didn't get along with Robert Zemeckis, and he was like they rewrote the script where it's like the payoff was like it's all this monetary sort of payoff for Marty and his family, and I was like that wasn't the original script. It was them like. They got together as a family. That was the idea. And that's sort of like the same thing here.
Their relationship is broken irrevocably because he's a robot now. Or maybe a robot. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's as long as, whatever consciousness you retain, as long as there's going to be a monetary payout at the end, you're going to be good.
And then I feel bad for his wife because then it's like she's suddenly his wife, right? Even though she looks a lot younger than 78 years old, but kind of looks more like the age of Ed Marinaro in this episode. Anyway, she's basically like his personal slave now, where it's like, oh, I need you to do this. I need to do that because I'm fucking head in the box now.
How and why is there a court case at all? Why didn't he just leave everything to his wife?
I don't get that at all. Did he not trust her?
That's the end of the story. And then he's like, oh, I'll be here to help because like, I don't want to, that could have been the story. Like, I don't want your fucking company. Like, please, they're going to take it away. Like, that could have been an interesting thing.
Turns off the TV set.
Yeah. So, honey, I've decided to go in another direction with the...
Well, that's the thing. I mean, for me, that should have been the ending. It's her just like turning it off and being like, bye. Nope. It's the cheap cliffhanger ending. It's a cliffhanger ending to an anthology episode.
And I tell you, the thing that bothered me the most about this segment is one of the guys says, we had to digitalize the data. I worked with an old guy years ago. This is 1996. And instead of saying digitize, he would always say digitalize. And I'm like,
digitalizing.
Oh, it was like nails on a chalkboard. And here's this guy, we're going to have to digitalize the data. I'm like, oh,
you should tell them to be more Pacific than that.
Yeah, please.
Specifically,
the future.
Oh, yeah.
I wish that this episode wasn't the last episode of the show, but at this point, I am glad.
You know what? Wasn't as bad as some of the others we got.
That's true.
Sure.
There have been worse.
I mean, this one was like, oh, well, I can see problems with the structure and the blah, blah, blah. Like, this easily could have been a good episode. Like, some of them are just like, burn this fucking thing. Like, why?
What is the purpose?
Yeah.
Tell me your purpose. Yeah, I don't. Man, what a just like limping along across the finish line, dragging yourself across the finish line. God.
Yeah.
What an unceremonious end to the first revival of this great show, which would be revived twice more to varying degrees of success.
The first 2 seasons of this iteration of The Twilight Zone are readily available, and you should visit them immediately.
On YouTube, because CBS doesn't give a singular goddamn fuck. So, just like Tales from the Crypt on fucking YouTube in its entirety, because HBO and the Gaines family don't give a singular fuck.
They were so into the idea of syndication and making money off of this thing that they fucked up the last season-ish. So why not actually put it out there in a different form and make some money off of it? I've got the DVDs.
Huh.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. I don't know. This last season of the show, Harlan Ellison, obviously the stripping thing, the quote that you said, we knew about that, right? It's just... It's disappointing. It's just disappointing because, again, the first season of the show is pretty good. Like, man, it looks like gold compared to the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, man.
Jesus Christ.
And you know what? His episode isn't great, but at least it's kind of cool because I know that, like, Harlan Ellison hired Michael Straczynski for Twilight Zone. So it was nice that he, like, at least tried to lend a hand. It's not, the results weren't great, but that's at least a decent thing that happened this season. I mean, not much else.
That's a great title. That's it.
Yeah.
Crazy as a soup sandwich. And they say it at the end of the episode. Hey, that's the name of the episode.
Yeah, because I will say that about the Craziest Soup Sandwich, which had over every other episode this season, the opening narration was really good. And it's because Harlan Ellison wrote it.
He's so yellow you could slather it on a hot dog.
It wasn't just some perfunctory bullshit like that, could have been slapped on any episode. It was like, it was very specific about what you're about to see. So I like that.
So, is there anything else we want to talk about?
Go watch season 1.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you guys as we bring this to a close. Is there any episodes that you would tell people to watch? Not your favorite episodes, but episodes that have stuck out to you guys through the run of the
season?
show. Or just in general. Because, again, I mean, we're at the point now where the show, we're done. But I think we owe it to the people who have listened or will listen to this. What episodes, just a couple that are worth checking out at the end of this, like Shatter Day, Wordplay,
Dealer's Choice,
Eye of Newton,
Shadow Man, Eye of Newton. Those were yeah.
The Toys of Caliban.
Yeah, I'd recommend that. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. It's an icky one.
To See the Invisible Man.
Yeah, the Uncle Devil Show.
Yeah,
Children's
like the Uncle
Zoo.
Devil Show. Yeah.
Children's Zoo was good, yeah.
Healer, Eric Bogosian, my God, all the way back to season
All
one.
the way back. That was
Jesus,
really good one.
Jesus.
Saucer Full of Loneliness or Saucer of Loneliness.
Saucer of Loneliness. That's season 2, right? Yeah. That was
Yeah.
a good one,
Very
man.
early season 2.
Yeah.
Convict's Piano was tight, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Penny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was enjoyable. A lot more enjoyable than this season.
The little people of Kalani Woods.
Oh, no, that was.
Oh, the
Then,
leprechaun artist, too.
The leprechaun
Wah, wah,
artist.
wah.
This show has fulfilled one thing, which is planting the image of Elvis impaling Elvis on a guitar
Yeah.
Very true.
for all time. Thank you, Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And
Thank you,
Elvis-
George R.R. Martin, who wrote that episode.
Elvis impaling Elvis and then making all of the same Elvis mistakes again because
I know. So good.
Elvis got to die to them drugs, baby.
That's
Yeah.
right.
God.
Today's the day I die, I guess. Like, that could have been interesting. I mean,
That could have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have done everything he possibly
Yeah.
could.
And like
It's
hating every minute of it. Like,
Yeah.
oh.
it's like,
listening
I
to
gotta hold it. I can't use the restroom today.
Yeah, right. Colonel Tom's on the phone, just like, yeah, we're gonna do a bunch of pictures. Like, no, Colonel Tom, this
Right.
is gonna ruin me.
God. That seems like a world ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Twilight Zone. We're talking about Twilight Zone.
And we talked about 2019 Twilight Zone even for a little bit.
Just a couple episodes, yeah.
God. We were like so excited. Oh, the Twilight Zone's coming back on when we're doing our show.
Ooh, oh, and it's what's his name?
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele does all this great stuff.
Aw.
Yeah.
So that was a fucking lie.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we have to say for this show, really?
Watch this show. It's good.
Really? You'd still say that?
What the fuck? Yo, are you being for real?
First season.
Oh, okay.
First season. Watch the first season.
But the first, yeah, but that's not what you said. You said watch this show. It's good.
Yeah, you'll know when to stop. It's when we all
Did
stop.
we?
You know what? No, we had to. Listen,
I like that.
we
It's
were-
when we all stopped. Is
We.
it though?
Yeah.
I meant at the time, and any right thinking
the
person.
empirical fucking
Anyone who
we
knows
over
that
here.
isn't really that much of a masochist, like clearly the three of us, will know
Right.
when to stop watching this show.
Yeah, it's funny. I was reading some of our reviews, and people are just like, "These guys are so negative," and I'm like,
We have reviews.
"Yeah, we
Yeah.
do. We have some reviews."
Oh my god, I've never read one.
Yeah,
On iTunes.
yeah,
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now that we've finished, I guess I'll read some.
yeah. There you go.
Well, that's. I mean, no, Mike's right. It's this is the same problem we ran into at the end of the Tales from the Crypt show, where it's like it's hard not to be negative. It's hard to find the good things, but it's also hard to sit here and let the creators and writers of this show shovel shit into our mouths and tell us it's chocolate pudding. As a viewer, I respect myself more than that, which is why I respect the audience enough to be honest with them. If you want to hear people just stroke the show, I'm sure go ask J. Michael Straczynski and he'll tell you how great the show was and how successful it was. Like, it's just, there's no point in not being honest.
Right.
You don't have to apologize about it.
Well, I'm not apologizing. No apologies.
No, Chris
Fuck
told me
the-
before he's not going to apologize for anything ever again.
Right.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
Sticking to
Yeah.
my guns.
That's
Chris,
right.
are you not going to take it? No, you're not going to take it.
He's not gonna
You're not going to take it anymore.
No,
No?
not at all. He's not going to.
So, I guess the final question I have here, Father Malone, it's a twofold question. A, are you glad we didn't do fucking Sea-Base 1999?
1,000%. Yeah.
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 Now that we've come to the end of this show, are you glad? Sea-Base DSV?
Yeah. I'm glad we did Twilight Zone. Yes, 100%.
And
That was going to be that DSV thing was going to be a hoot for 10 seconds, and then we were like, "Oh no! Now we have to keep watching this show."
it's kind of the way I felt after the first
No.
season of this show.
Get the fuck out of here! There were some gems in season
Some
2.
gems
Some
doesn't-
gems in season.
Some.
Some gems in season 2.
Some.
Ah, whoa,
Some.
Yeah.
Just some.
gem.
Yeah, you
Gems.
showed us how many. 1 or 2. With
3.
your fingers, just 3. Okay, 3. And should we talk about the next show that we're doing?
Sure.
Sure, why not? Plug it, baby.
Go ahead, Father Malone. It's all on you.
Next up, we're going to be tackling another anthology television series, also Rod Serling related, but in this case, directly Rod Serling related, as we'll be tackling The Night Gallery.
2018's Night Gallery, right? Hosted by Michael Key. Hosted by Jordan Peele.
No, the web series.
On IFT TV, IFC TV.
Keegan Michael Key's Night Gallery.
Right.
Yeah, I'd watch.
I think it was on. I think it was on.
Was that on Tubi?
Tubi, yeah.
True
Tubi.
TV. Was that on True TV?
True.
In between Impractical Jokers and the show about people who drive poorly.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're talking about Night Gallery. So this is the second podcast you and I have completed, Mike.
Yeah.
And the second podcast that you and I have completed, Father Malone.
Yeah. I said yeah for both of us.
Yeah, well, your name is also technically Mike, so.
No. Shh.
Don't tell me
that's
what.
right. Yeah.
Please.
Can't let
I've got a rep to protect.
That's right. He does.
Any other final thoughts before we end this?
No, I don't think so.
I'm glad the three of us did it together. This has been fun.
Mm-hmm.
It has been fun getting to talk with you guys consistently once a month and knowing that I get to talk with two of my best friends about a show that, it's not great, but you know what? That's not what matters to me. What matters is we got to do this together. That's all that matters.
It's beautiful, man. I love it. I love you. I love you both.
Oh,
I love you too, man. That's on recording.
Thank you. Good. I want it to be. And that's what I want the Twilight Zone to really, the people of the Twilight Zone, I want them to come away with that notion, that love. Also,
I bring you love.
That there might be a horrible twist coming up that's actually well plotted and thought out, a la season 1. And I hope that happens to everybody.
I bring you love. Jesus Christ. So on that note, Mike, where could people find you?
As always, you can find me over at projectionboothpodcast.com, where I put on a weekly show talking about movies. Usually I'm not as negative as I am here because I try to cover movies that I enjoy. Even if I don't enjoy them, I try to at least give them a fair shake. So that's me. How about you, Chris?
That's not what the iTunes reviewers told me.
That's true. It gets way too political.
You can't own the libs any harder than we're owning them now.
Oh, man.
What about me? cstachiw.com. cstachiw.com. That's where you can find me. Lots of things Father Malone and I have worked on. Chronicles from the Crypt, another show in the bag. Mike and I have also worked on Kolchak tapes together. Another show in the bag. The Culture Cast and Scary Stories We Tell. Just cstachiw.com. That's where you can go. And Father Malone, where can people find you?
Check me out over at fathermalone.com. There you're going to find links to my show, Dark Destinations. That's a half-hour radio drama I write and produce. There's links to my YouTube shows and other shows like the aforementioned Chronicles from the Crypt with Chris and this show. And apparently, if you go there, you'll probably see a button marked Night Gallery as well.
And big thanks, as always, to Roxy Drive and Neutron Dreams for the theme song for the show. And, I would say make sure to check us out on the next episode. But, you know what? Just make sure to stay weird and check us out in the Twilight Zone, I guess.